I found him slumped against a wall, clutching his stomach. Blood was everywhere. He was Asian, Korean, maybe, with tattoos running up his neck and down his arms. The kind of tattoos that tell a story, usually not a good one. Let me take you through how it all started. This story is about to show you the power of one act of kindness, but first be part of the proof. Subscribe, comment where you're from. Let's light up the world map with hope before this even begins. Your location matters. Drop it below. They say life has a way of breaking you down before it builds you back up. I never believed that until it happened to me. My name is Dr. Amare Okonkwo, and this is the story of how a single act of compassion changed everything. It started 6 months before that night, 6 months before I met him. My husband, David, was the kind of man who lit up every room he walked into. He was my best friend, my partner, the love of my life. We'd been married for 4 years when he got the diagnosis: stage 4 cancer, terminal. The doctor said the words, but I couldn't hear them. I'm a surgeon. I save lives every single day. How could I not save his? So I tried. God knows I tried everything. Every treatment, every clinical trial, every experimental drug. I sold our car. I took out loans. I borrowed money from family, from friends, from anyone who would help. I worked double shifts at the hospital, sometimes triple. I slept in on-call rooms just to save time. Every penny I earned went straight to his treatment. My colleagues would look at me with pity. They knew what I was doing. They knew the statistics, but I couldn't give up. How do you give up on the person you love most in this world? I remember the last night. He was in so much pain, but he smiled at me anyway. He held my hand and said, "Amara, you've done enough, more than enough. It's okay to let go." But I wasn't ready. I would never be ready. He died on a Tuesday morning, just as the sun was rising. I was holding his hand. And just like that, the man I'd given everything for was gone. The funeral was small. I'd spent everything on trying to keep him alive, so there wasn't much left for saying goodbye. I stood there in a borrowed black dress, 6 months pregnant with our twins, and wondered how I was going to survive this. That's when the bills started coming. Hospital bills, loan repayments, credit card statements. Numbers so big they didn't even feel real anymore. 2,847,000 naira in debt. The bank sent eviction notices. I had 30 days to pay or lose our home, the place where David and I had dreamed of raising our children. I tried to get help. I went to my boss at the hospital, Mr. Ibuka. I'd worked there for 7 years. Surely that counted for something. But he looked at me with cold eyes and said, "This is a business, doctor. Perhaps you should take a leave." A leave. As if resting would make the debt disappear. As if stopping work would feed my babies when they arrived. So I kept working. 8 months pregnant, carrying twins, barely able to stand for long periods, but I kept showing up. What choice did I have? The creditors were calling every day. Some were kind, apologetic even. Others were threatening. One man told me he'd take everything I owned. Another said they'd come for the house next week. I stopped answering my phone. I avoided people I knew. Shame has a way of making you invisible, even to yourself. That night, the night everything changed, I'd just finished a 14-hour shift. There'd been an accident on the highway, multiple casualties. I'd been in surgery for hours, trying to save a young man who'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. We lost him on the table. His mother collapsed when I told her. I held her while she screamed, and I thought about David. I thought about how someone had held me when I screamed too. I walked home because I couldn't afford the cab fare anymore. Every step was agony. My back ached. My feet were swollen. The twins were restless, kicking constantly as if they could sense my stress. It was raining, but I didn't have the energy to walk faster. I just let the water soak through my clothes. I took a shortcut through an alley. I know, a pregnant woman alone at night in a dark alley. Not my smartest decision, but I was tired. So tired of everything. Tired of trying. Tired of failing. Tired of being strong. That's when I heard the gunshots. Two loud cracks that echoed through the narrow space. I froze. My hands instinctively went to my belly, protecting my babies. I should have run. That's what any sane person would do. But I heard something else. A groan. Someone in pain. I found him slumped against a wall, clutching his stomach. Blood was everywhere. He was Asian, Korean maybe, with tattoos running up his neck and down his arms. The kind of tattoos that tell a story, usually not a good one. His eyes met mine. They were dark, filled with pain, but also something else. Resignation. Like he'd accepted this was how his story would end. I couldn't walk away. I'm a doctor. It's not just what I do, it's who I am. So I knelt down beside him, my pregnant belly making it difficult, and I assessed the wound, gunshot to the abdomen. He was losing blood fast. I took off my jacket, the only decent one I owned, and pressed it against the wound. He groaned in pain, said something in Korean I couldn't understand. Then in broken English, he said, "Leave. Dangerous." I told him I was a doctor. I told him I could help. He looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. Here I was, broke, pregnant, drowning in debt, and I was trying to save a stranger who'd clearly been involved in something violent. But I had already lost so much. I couldn't lose my humanity too. I helped him to his feet. He was heavy and I was pregnant, but somehow we managed. He leaned on me and we stumbled through the streets. People looked but didn't stop. That's the city for you. Everyone has their own problems. My apartment was small. Boxes everywhere because I was supposed to be packing to leave. Medical bills covered the kitchen table. Photos of David on every surface, reminding me of what I'd lost. But I cleared space on the couch and got to work. I sterilized my instruments. I'd kept some supplies from the hospital, things I'd planned to use for my own delivery if I couldn't afford the hospital when the time came. Now I was using them to extract a bullet from a stranger's abdomen. He bit down on a cloth while I worked. I gave him what I could for the pain, but it wasn't much. The bullet had missed his vital organs by inches. Lucky, or maybe unlucky, depending on how you looked at it. He was alive, but he'd be in pain for weeks. When I finished, I cleaned up and made tea. We sat in silence for a while. Then he asked my name. I told him, Dr. Amara Okonkwo. He said his name was Minjun, Kang Minjun. I asked what happened. He didn't answer, just looked away. Those tattoos told me enough. He wasn't an innocent victim. But then again, neither was I. We were both people who'd made choices, who were living with consequences. I told him he could stay until he healed. I don't know why I said it. Maybe because the apartment would be empty soon anyway. Maybe because I was so tired of being alone. Or maybe because saving him gave me a purpose when everything else felt pointless. Over the next few days, we developed a strange routine. I'd leave for work in the morning, he'd rest, I'd come home exhausted, and he'd try to help despite his injury. We didn't talk much. What was there to say? We were two broken people sharing space, but he watched me. He saw the bills. He saw the eviction notice on the fridge. He saw me come home crying one night after a creditor had shown up at the hospital, embarrassing me in front of my colleagues. He saw me counting coins, trying to figure out if I had enough for bread. One evening I came home and nearly collapsed. The pregnancy was getting harder. My body was giving up. He helped me to the couch, his wound still healing, but his strength returning. He asked if I had money problems. I got defensive, told him it wasn't his concern. But he persisted gently, and I broke down. I told him everything about David, about the cancer, about how I'd given everything to save him, and it still wasn't enough. About the debt, about losing our home, about my babies who would be born into nothing. He didn't say much, just listened. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You good woman, world not fair to good people." That night, I cried myself to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, he was gone. The bandages were folded neatly on the couch. No trace of him except a note written in careful English. The note said, "Dr. Okonkwo, you saved my life when you have every reason not to. You give me food, shelter, care. You ask nothing, this rare. I cannot stay. My world too dangerous for you and your babies. But I not forget. Thank you." I sat there holding that note, feeling empty. I'd saved him and now he was gone. Just another person who'd passed through my life and left. That's when I saw it. A large black duffel bag under the dining table. I approached it slowly, unzipped it, and my world stopped. Money. More money than I'd ever seen in my life. Stacks and stacks of cash, neatly bundled. I fell to my knees right there on the floor. My hands shook as I touched the bills, making sure they were real. They were. I don't know how long I sat there crying. It was too much. The relief, the shock, the gratitude, the disbelief, all of it hit me at once. I clutched that money to my chest and sobbed like a child. I looked at David's photo on the shelf and whispered, "We're going to be okay. The babies and I were going to make it." The next week was a blur. I paid off every single debt, the bank, the creditors, the loans, all of it gone. The relief was indescribable. For the first time in months, I could breathe, but I couldn't stay in that apartment. Too many memories, too much pain. I needed a fresh start, not just for me, but for my babies. So I made a decision. I found a small city about 3 hours away, quieter, safer, more affordable. I applied for a position at a smaller hospital. They accepted. I packed up everything, said goodbye to the life David and I had built, and left. 3 months later, I gave birth to my twins, a boy and a girl, perfect, healthy, beautiful. I held them in my arms and felt complete for the first time since David died. They had his eyes, both of them. I named the boy David after his father. The girl I named Grace, because that's what saved us. Grace from a stranger. Grace from the universe. Grace when I deserved nothing but had been given everything. My new life isn't glamorous. I work at a community hospital now. The pay is less, but the pace is manageable. I have a modest apartment with a small nursery. My neighbors are kind. They help with the twins when I have shifts. They don't know my story, and I prefer it that way. Sometimes, late at night, when the twins are sleeping, I think about Minjun. I wonder who he really was. A warlord, a criminal, someone dangerous, certainly, but also someone capable of extraordinary kindness. Someone who saw a woman who'd helped him and decided to change her life. I kept his note. I framed it and put it on my living room wall. It reminds me that goodness exists in unexpected places, that sometimes the people we're told to fear are the ones who save us. I'll never see him again. I know that. He's in his world, whatever that is. I'm in mine. But I think about him often. I wonder if he's safe, if he found peace, if he knows that what he did didn't just give me money, it gave me hope. The twins are growing fast. David Jr. has his father's smile. Grace has my determination. They'll never know their father, but they'll know his love through the stories I tell them. And one day when they're old enough, I'll tell them about the stranger who saved us. I'll tell them that their mother once had nothing, that she was broken, drowning in debt, about to lose everything, and that a man she saved from death gave her a second chance at life. I'll teach them that kindness matters, that helping others, even when you have nothing to give, is never wasted, that sometimes the universe rewards compassion in ways you never expect. People ask me sometimes if I regret helping him, a criminal, a dangerous man. They say I was reckless, that I put myself and my babies at risk. Maybe they're right, but I don't regret it, not for a second. Because that night in the alley, I had a choice. I could have walked away, pretended I didn't see, protected myself. But instead, I chose to be the person David would have been proud of, the person I wanted my children to grow up to be. And in return, I was given everything I needed, not just money, but something more important, a reminder that I'm not alone, that even in the darkest moments, light can break through, that miracles, real miracles, still happen. My life now is simple. I wake up early, feed the twins, go to work, come home, play with them, put them to bed. I read them stories. I sing them songs. I show them David's photos so they'll know his face. And every night, I thank God for the second chance I was given. The debt is gone. The house is mine. My children are healthy. I have work I love, a community that supports me, and a future that looks brighter than it has in years. But more than that, I have my humanity intact. I didn't let the world make me cold. I didn't let loss turn me bitter. I stayed who I was, a doctor, a healer, someone who helps. And in the end, that's what saved me. Minjun once said the world isn't fair to good people. Maybe he was right. But I've learned something else. Good people don't do good things expecting fairness. They do it because it's right, because it's who they are. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe notices, and it rewards you in ways you never imagine. I don't know where Minjun is now, if he's alive or dead, if he's still living that dangerous life or if he found a way out. But wherever he is, I hope he knows that he didn't just save a pregnant woman in debt. He saved a mother. He saved 2 children. He saved a family. And for that, I will be grateful for the rest of my life. This is my story, a story of loss and hope, of darkness and light, of a stranger's gift that changed everything. And if there's one thing I want people to take from it, it's this. Never underestimate the power of kindness. You never know whose life you might save, and you never know who might save yours. Sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes angels have tattoos. Sometimes the people we're taught to fear are the ones who show us what grace really means. My name is Dr. Amara Okonkwo. I'm a surgeon, a widow, a mother of twins. I'm someone who was broken and was put back together by the kindness of a stranger. And every day I try to be worthy of that gift. I try to be the light for someone else that Minjun was for me. Because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help each other. We're supposed to see people in their darkest moments and choose compassion over fear. That's how we survive this world. That's how we make it better. One act of kindness at a time. Every subscriber is a ripple. Every comment is proof that kindness is alive everywhere. Hit subscribe, then tell us where you're watching from. Let's create a worldwide wave of people who choose to help, no matter what they're going through. Start the ripple. Drop your location below,